Hi everyone, this is Alec from AJ Farms, and today I'm here with a May garden tour. I know we had one posted a few weeks ago, but I want to do one at the end of every month. And oh my gosh, things have been going crazy. I mean, as you can see with these cabbages, they're huge. So I remember in the last garden tour, I was worried they weren't really growing. I gave everything a little bit of fertilizer, and they have exploded with growth. They're huge, especially this one right here. This is our biggest cabbage. And I'm honestly excited to see how big it'll get. I know it's got a little bit of bug damage. If you look very closely, that's just started up. Honestly, I think in the past 2 days. So I put a little bit of BT out here. I couldn't find my sprayer. So I'm gonna come out today after I finish filming, and I will spray them all again with more BT so that way I don't have to worry about caterpillars eating them. Now on the end of the cabbage bed, we have our basil, which is recovering from being put out here. It was a little bit cool when they got out here, but now they're doing a lot better, which makes me happy. So we had large leaf basil here. Unfortunately, that got killed off by the frost, so now we have Genovese basil, which I have had before. I do like the taste. I don't think I've tasted large leaf basil, though it smells great. So I might plant some more later, we'll see, but these are doing pretty well. They were getting a little bit of bug damage, but they have definitely recovered and they're getting bigger. Probably gonna fertilize these again, and I'll spray them down as well so they stop getting eaten. All right, next up we have our peas, which if you look at the bottom, actually have peas on them. I'm super excited. I've actually harvested a few. Still waiting for Jay to try them. I'm unfortunately allergic to them, so I can't tell you how they taste. But they are getting tall. The sugar snap peas are the tallest so far, and they're almost as tall as I am, and they're covered in flowers. They're taking this heat like a champion. It's been raining for the past few days, so I don't actually need to water them, but I'll probably come out and fertilize them again a little bit. They don't need a whole bunch, but I want to give them the support they need to survive this heat. Then next to our peas, if I carefully step over here, we have our kale, which is recovering. I don't want to really say recovering, but it's growing back great from when I harvested it. Honestly, you can't tell that I harvested this already. It's ready to be picked again, which is awesome because it was delicious. So we're probably going to come out here in the next few days and pick this again. This is more heat tolerant, so we're definitely going to let this go through the summer. And once the peas kind of fall out, we're going to replace that with kale, and then we'll fill in these bare spots. But I'm excited. I love kale. I also want to see how tall it will get. It's not really known as a tall plant, but if you keep picking it, it will grow a really thick stalk in the middle. You can kind of see it in there a little bit. But that will just keep getting taller and taller as it produces more. Eventually it will bolt and go to seed, but hopefully we have a lot of time before that happens. But we also want to succession plant, as I said, with the peas. So we'll make sure that we have a second round going, so when this kind of dies out, that will be in the middle of growing really strong, and then we can replace this for the winter. I know this bed looks very sad, but this is our kind of mixed pepper, but it's the medium pepper bed officially. On this side we have Cayenne Peppers, which are kind of blending into the grass. These are ones that I started from seed. And I have this cup right here to tell me what it is because I haven't had a marker yet. In the middle right here, you can see I cleared it out a little bit. We've got some big guy jalapenos growing. Then on this side, we have hot cayenne peppers that I bought from the store. And some weeds. But this will probably be my next project, to come in here and weed this bed and then our super hot pepper bed out because they're a little bit messy. And then next to that, we still have some sunflowers that we need to transplant. I mean, they're growing slower, so it's an unintentional succession, so that works. So I'm really excited to see those go. Alright, so here's a bed that I am super excited for. This is the Dahlia Bed, and at this point, almost everything has popped up. I think I'm just missing one plant, and then I've got one more I can transplant in here. Everything is doing really well. Everything's getting so big, especially the Creme De Cassis. I believe that's how you say it. But I'm going to start at the end and let you know all the varieties that I have going, because I'm not sure I did that in the last one. But this first row right here is our Blue Boy. Next to it we have, we have Eveline, and then behind that we have Duet, because I only had one Eveline. Then we've got American Sun, doing really well. Then we've got Sweet Love. Then we have Lilac Time. I did have one that died, but that's okay. We've got Lavender Perfection, which I'm super excited for. Babylon Red. This is the one where only one came up. Actually, I might be mistaken. That right there might be another sprout. So I had 100%. We'll see how that does. But I've got one that I have in a pot because I thought it had disease. Turns out it did not, which is awesome, so I can plant it in here. Then we have Creme De Cassis, which is doing great. And then we have my personal favorite, Cafe au lait. I'm hoping we can get some creamy ones this year. But I'll be happy with any of them, to be fair. So as these get taller, we're going to stake them up. But for now, I'm going to let them go to kind of see how I need to stake them, because this is way more dahlias than I grew last year in a bigger space. So I'm not really sure how I want to do it, whether I want to stake them individually, run a trellis through, or we'll figure that out. But for now, they're happy growing as they are, and I think I'm not going to pinch out the centers, because while that will give me a better side growth, it will also delay the flowering, and I kind of want to just start getting flowers as soon as possible. So I think, if I look in the center here, I can't tell if that's a leaf or if it's starting to create a flower bud. It might be a leaf. But I do have some that are starting to make flower buds, and I'll show you that a little bit later in the video. Alright, next up we have our mild and sweet pepper bed. So first we've got our jalapenos. I'm pretty sure there's a poblano pepper in here. Most of these, I think everything but 3 plants in this bed were store-bought because of the soil issue we're having, but they're doing great. And some of them, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to zoom in far enough. So you can see, or not, come on. Well, there are flower buds on it, so we should have some little peppers forming soon, which is really awesome. Jalapenos are my favorite because I can actually eat the sauce that I make with them. It's not too spicy for me. Also, I just like how big they get. It's really fun because most super spicy peppers aren't that big. But over here we have our sweet bell peppers. These two in the corner, I believe, were started from seed. The rest of them are home or store-bought. And I believe this year we're doing all green peppers because we had bad luck trying to get the colors to change, though I think I know what the issue was. So we're going to let these go. I'm going to see how big I can get these bell peppers, because some of them can get up to 7 inches wide, long across one of those directions. So here's our sweet and mild peppers. I'm super excited for these. So if you remember from a slightly earlier video, I think it's the last video actually, here are our carrots. And from that video, they have absolutely exploded in growth. They're getting huge. So you can definitely see the benefit of thinning out your carrots. I mean, they're huge. It speaks for itself. Then we got our 2 extra kale plants right here, which are also doing really well. Oh, I thought I got in between the wasps, but it looks like one came back. So I'm not going to get too close to this bed, but we have our leftover radishes. The weather has finally caught up with itself. It is hot. Not too bad today, but as you can see, our radishes are starting to bolt. I picked what were ready, and then the rest I'm trying to let go as much as possible. So hopefully we'll get a few more. I can see one right there that has a nice bulb on it, but I'm going to let it get as big as I can, and then I'll pick everything. But I've just been picking them out as they bolt so that we can still eat them and enjoy them. The ranunculus are pretty much done for this season. I'm surprised I still had some flowers coming up. But this is now going to be, once I pull those out, just the cucumber bed. Might be able to get a better view down this way. So my mom has really been planting this bed. I think I've planted the one in the middle and that was it. But that one's doing pretty well. This one right here was started from seed, hardened off, and brought outside. And I actually think it's the biggest one out here. So that's really awesome. But everything else... Oh, no, that's not right. Everything was actually started from seed except the 2 on the edge. So that one right there and the one in the corner, that back corner right there. The rest of these were all started from seed. They're doing pretty well. So I think in a few weeks we should start seeing some flowers on these guys. I stand corrected, I came over here, we do actually have some flowers. So in the next week or 2 we should have some female flowers forming, which means baby cucumbers. Then up next we have one of my personal favorites, the strawberries. Now in the last video, if you remember, they were just starting to flower. In this video, they are fruiting, and some of them are almost fully ripe. We've actually harvested quite a bit, and unfortunately lost some because pests. But we had harvested at least 20, I think. We ate a few, and then I have a jar of them sitting inside that I'm waiting to create a nice syrup so I can make a strawberry shortcake, because that's what I like to do with these. But what we're not going to do is tell anyone else that there's more that are ready, like that one, so that I can eat it. We've got 2 beds, so we've got this first bed and then the second bed right next to it. I'm so excited. I see a whole bunch of ripe ones. So before I come out and spray, I'm probably going to come out with my gloves and a little bucket and start picking off the ones that I can eat and probably eat them out here. And any that are overripe or pest-ridden, I'm just going to throw them in a bucket and let them compost and have some soil for next year. They can fertilize their friends. But I'm super excited. I'm impatiently waiting for this one right here to turn fully ripe because I think it's the biggest one we have, or have had so far, that will not be gotten by pests. I'm determined. And next up we have our slicing tomatoes. Slicing and cherry tomatoes. I will be honest, this bed looked absolutely pitiful last video, and look how much everything has recovered. We've had to replace just a few of the plants, but most of these are ones that I had from seed, and especially this plant right here, my sun gold cherry tomato. I am so proud of this one. It looked like it wasn't gonna make it. Look how big it is now. It's definitely a little over a foot tall, I would say, about a foot tall. But it's actually made some side shoots, and I've trimmed those off for a future video, so I will be showing you how to propagate tomatoes from cuttings. Ooh. But we've got the sun gold, we have cherry tomatoes. I believe this entire side is cherry tomatoes. Next we've got the mortgage lifter, and these are all also flowering. You can especially see it in the back right there. Look at all those flowers. We're gonna have so many tomatoes. Mortgage lifter, the one in the middle may be starting to flower. I need to start weaving that up through its cage. It's a little crazy. And this one right here is just starting to flower right there. That's the mortgage lifter. We have our beefsteak, which is also just starting to flower, so I don't think any are open quite yet. And then this row, it was Park Swapper on the edges and Bodacious in the middle. The Bodacious, I'm so happy to report, has totally recovered, so we should be getting some tomatoes from that. And then the Park Swapper has actual fruit on it. So this one right now has 3 tomatoes. Come on. And then this one right here has 2. And then we have a lavender plant right there just for fun. I haven't planted it yet, but I will. Next up is another personal favorite of mine, the sauce tomatoes. So this row is a little bit of a mix. We've got 2 super sauce in the back and 1 Roma in the front, which is just starting to flower. Next we have Amish paste, and I think another, nope, Park Swapper, because I ran out of space. So this one is an Amish paste, which recovered beautifully. We've got Park Swapper in the middle and another Amish paste in the back, which is also doing well. I mean, words cannot describe how happy I am that my tomatoes bounced back and are doing so well. I'm so happy for these. But here we have, this is a store-bought, it is sunrise sauce. Couldn't really read the tag, but this is sunrise sauce, which is, it's going crazy. In the middle we've got another Roma, and in the back right there, we have a San Marzano. It is my only one this year that made it, so I'm treasuring it. I'm so happy it bounced back. And then this side right here is all Roma tomatoes, which San Marzano and Roma are currently my favorites because I have more experience with them. Oh, and I didn't even notice that the basil had bounced back completely. Like, these were so bug-ridden when I first planted them. Well, say bug-eaten, I should say. And they actually have leaves that I could pick if I wanted to. I mean, that one especially. So I'll need to scoot the tomato cages, kind of push them, tilt them to the right, so that these guys can get some sun so they'll keep growing, because that one's completely shaded out. But they're doing really well, so we'll have tomatoes and basil to go with it to make some really awesome tomato sauce. So I think when you last saw this bed, it was just full of grass. It's still quite full of grass, but now there's pumpkins. So we've got more varieties of pumpkins than I forgot to count before we started. Let's get 3 on that side, 4, 5, 6, 7 varieties. We have small sugar on the end, which is for making pies. And you could make little tiny jack-o'-lanterns, but it's really more for pies. We have Triple Treat, which is a bigger jack-o'-lantern pumpkin sized, but also sweet enough for pies. We have Connecticut Field, which gets to be about 20 to 25 pounds. Your classic jack-o'-lantern pumpkin. And then on the edge we have, let's see, we've got Big Moon in the back, which I started from seeds and brought outside. Dill's Atlantic Giant, which I started from seed here. And then we have Big Max. And these 3 can all easily get over 100 pounds if treated properly. I don't quite know if I want a pumpkin that big, but my goal is definitely at least 50 pounds if possible. 'Cause that would be awesome. I've had 20 pounds I think my first year. So let's see if we can get 50. I don't think there's much going on in this bed either in the last video, but now it is full of bush beans. So in this half, a little more than half, I'd say 2/3 of this bed, we have Blue Lake bush beans, and then there's a sign you can barely see, but on this side we have Royal Burgundy bush beans. And I planted the entire packet of Royal Burgundy bush beans. I think only one didn't come up right there, maybe two. Anyway, they're doing just fine. Sorry, there's a lot of bugs out today because it's nice and warm. The weather's really nice now. But they're doing great, and I don't think we have flowers yet, but they're also maybe like 2-3 weeks old. They're not that old. 2 weeks? 3 weeks? I didn't write the date down on the tag. But they're doing great. We should start seeing some flowers very soon. They're producing quite a few of their true leaves now. So it's really a matter of time. To be fair, the best way to have success with beans is to succession plant them. I did not do that. But I do plan on being out here and picking them frequently. That is another way to extend your harvests. If you're out here, pick them frequently, or succession plant, then they should do pretty well. And you'll get a whole bunch of beans. Because the more you pick your beans, the more they will produce. So if you let your beans stay on there for forever, they'll kind of slow down thinking, okay, I'm done. But if you pick them, they're like, oh, I gotta make more beans, I gotta make more beans. So that's how you get a lot of beans off a few plants. I know this bed also doesn't look like much. The weeds completely took over. It was nice, but this here is our hot, super hot and overflow pepper bed. On this edge, I know it's kind of hard to see, we've got our ghost peppers. This is the other bed I was saying that I needed to clear out. We've got an overflow bell pepper, Carolina Reaper, which right there. Then right here, we have some volunteer pinto beans from last year. I'm tempted to kind of let them go since they've got a cage now. They're slight pole beans. They get taller than a bush bean, so you kind of do want to support them. Then over here we have habanero, orange habaneros. I did have more, but we had a storm that knocked over the cup that I had, and they unfortunately did not make it. So if I find some more in the store, I'll hop on and probably get those, and if not, I won't worry about it. But I think I've got some volunteer pinto beans next to it that are kind of taking over, so I'll need to pull those out. So that'll be something else that I work on. I also have one next to this one. So I'll be sure to get those out to allow the habaneros to get as big as possible, because that's another one that I use for sauce, and they're so good. They're also pretty prolific, so if you do want to start venturing into super hot peppers, habaneros aren't a bad place to start, because they're not deathly hot. They're half as hot as a ghost pepper, but they are hotter than a jalapeno, so be wary. They are hot, but they aren't like gonna send you to the hospital type hot. They are manageable. But they're also pretty prolific, and they're pretty hardy, so they're easy to take care of. They give you a lot. They don't require too much care other than keeping them weed free, which I am not doing yet, but we'll work on it. It's also been raining a whole bunch, so it's hard to get out into the garden to take care of it. So now that we're supposed to have some nice hot weather, things should take off, and I should be able to get all these weeds out of here. Alright, so this bed here is a little bit of an experiment. It is the watermelon bed this year. Last year it was our tomato bed, and we have quite a few volunteer tomato plants left over. So I'm thinking what I might do is let them get a little bit bigger so that I can transplant them, and I might give them to friends, just like, hey, who wants a mystery tomato? It will either be a slicing or cherry tomato, because that's what I had in here last year, but other than that, I have no clue. So variety-wise, we've got Carolina Cross in the back right there. Unfortunately, the front mound didn't make it, so if I can find some more seeds, I will plant those. Then we have 4 mounds of all sweet. That's 1, 2 in the back, and then 2 in the front. They're doing really well. Alright, and then next to that we've got our Crimson Sweet. We've got 3 mounds of that right here, here, and here. And then in the front is the Black Diamond Watermelon. So these are doing well. I'm going to come out and fertilize everything so they can get a nice boost, because it's going to be hot and watermelons love the heat, so they will take off. And I want to make sure to give them the best start as possible. So that is pretty much it for the vegetables. Now we are on to our flowers and fruit trees. So if you remember from last video, I do believe I had this planted. This is the bachelor button patch. I do need to come out here and weed, but they're getting pretty big, and it looks like we might get some flowers starting soon. So I'm really excited for that. These are going to be my filler for my bouquets when I start making those. We did make some progress though. We started planting our zinnias. I decided to plant them in rainbow order, so closest to me we've got our pinks and reds, then we have don't think I have any orange, so it's pinks, red, yellow, and green. I do have a few more I need to plant, so I need to get on that. But most of them took to being transplanted pretty well because they were super tiny, so I wasn't really sure how well it would go. We didn't lose too many, which is awesome, so I'll be sure to come through here and weed everything out to give it a better chance at getting bigger. But I'm honestly pretty excited. I have not harvested zinnias before. I haven't had them bloom here because the last batch that I grew, I think last year, got riddled with aphids, so I had to unfortunately trash them, but I'm really excited for all the flowers. Not looking forward to the bees being active, but I will appreciate what they do while I'm not here. Because it's also, this patch is to kind of bring in the bees, so I don't have to worry about hand pollinating as much. I usually have pretty good pollination, but it would really help with things like the watermelon, the cucumbers, cantaloupe when we eventually plant it, and the pumpkins. And then next are the sunflowers. Remember how tiny these were when I showed them to you in the last tour? I mean, these now are almost up to my knees, so that's really exciting. Again, 10 feet or taller would be super awesome because these can get up to 16 feet tall. So it looks like we're honestly having a pretty good start. They should be taller than me by the time they flower. We've got the 2 rows. We're still working on planting the rest. I think I should have another 2 to 3 rows of these. And then I can fill in the spots where they didn't quite make it. But I'm super happy with how the sunflowers are doing. Honestly, I couldn't be much happier. The smaller ones are ones that I did replace already. So they're going to be a little bit behind, and that's fine. So that way also, it's an unintentional staggered planting, so I don't have them all blooming at one time. So I'm going to let these go, and then I'll show you the blueberry behind it. It's doing really, really well. And is loaded. Absolutely loaded with blueberries. Oh, and I think I see a little tiny bee working, so I don't want to disturb it. But these should be ripe in a few weeks. So I'm going to be making some tarts, or might just be eating them. I know Jay wanted some for a smoothie. So I think we have enough to kind of go around. I know it's one plant. The other one has a few on it. I think there's one more that has a few on it, but this one is by far the most loaded down. And I'm super excited. I mean, look at that. That's awesome. So that's one of our blueberry plants. And next to it, we've got another. I do need to come in and prune it because it's a little sad. Something is telling me someone probably came in here with something they weren't supposed to. But I'll take care of this one, trim it up, fertilize it, and it should be good to go. I believe in the last video, these blackberries were just starting to flower. Well, they're mostly done flowering, and now they are fruiting. This is the smaller of the two, and it's loaded down. It also has a whole bunch of foliage coming up for next year's growth. So these new canes, like this one right here, that are growing, will be what fruit next year. But this has a decent number on there. I could easily make a good few jars of jelly with it. I'm super excited too. But its friend next to this poor little blueberry, which does actually have some fruit on it. Oh my goodness. Loaded down and getting bigger by the day. I mean, we're gonna have blackberries. I can guarantee that. It's really awesome. I mean, words cannot describe how excited I am for this plant. But not only is it loaded down, look at the canes for next year. They're taller than I am by a good foot, almost 2. So they're almost 7 feet tall. So yeah, we're gonna have blackberries for some time to come, which is gonna be awesome. I mean, even it wants to live so much that it produced not 1, but 2 offshoots or little extra plants. So I'm gonna be giving those away in the future. But yeah, I'm super excited. This is my 3rd year with this blackberry plant, so I can't wait to see what it's going to be able to do in the future. Next, we've got our 2 Dahlia beds. This one has the tartan, boom boom yellow, white aster, and Shiloh Noel. They're all doing wonderfully. And these I don't think have any flower buds on them yet because I planted them as tubers. I didn't start them early. They're doing great. Not a whole bunch of bug damage, which is just awesome. You're always going to see a little bit, but that's normal. And the amount that I'm seeing is not really concerning, so I'm not too worried about them. I think this is the tallest one in this bed right now. Almost has flower buds on it. We're getting close. But the one next to it, I started a lot of these inside with Fubuki Maroon, Crazy Love, Arabian Night, and Florel. And Kelvin Floodlight, I forgot about that one. But if we look closely, this Fubuki Maroon right here has a flower bud. So we should be getting one soon. Oh, wait, there's another one right here. Oh, come on, please. So we're gonna get some flowers soon. I'm so excited. I think that is Crazy Love, so we'll have 2 different varieties flowering. And then this one is just starting to get a flower bud. Right in there somewhere. Right there. So I'm really happy about that. Now with this bed, the Arabian Night, and this surprises me, if we look in here, has a whole bunch of ants and aphids. I'm not sure if you can see that, so I will be out here spraying this with neem oil because I do not want that spreading to the rest of my garden. I don't want them spreading disease, so I will be out here spraying these very shortly. Honestly, as soon as I finish recording this, I'm going to spray, harvest those strawberries, and then get onto editing so you guys can see. But that is our Dahlia bed. Next we have our grapes, which I believe you have seen. We have a whole bunch. Some of them are leafing out. Some of them got a little damaged by the cold. So we've got a few. Kind of have to look around for them. I will be honest, this is the section of the garden that my mom organized, so I'm not really sure what her goal was. It's kind of organized chaos, I suppose. But we've got quite a few grapes in here, at least 9 plants, I believe. We've got some apple trees that still need to be planted. We're working on it. One did get in the ground. I think 2 of these are newer, so not worried about that quite yet. They get watered every day. So this grapevine is from last year. It did leaf out and then got hit with the frost. I'm not really sure if it's still alive. Because when I try to bend it, it doesn't break easily, so that makes me think it is. So we'll see. We'll leave it for now. But this actually had a whole bunch of grapes on it last year, so maybe it's not too late for it to do anything, so we'll see. Then over in this section, which they're really hard to see, we've got some cherry trees. Make sure I don't step on grapes. So these are brand new for this year. I have never grown cherries. I don't really know what to do with these, but I think this one needs a little bit of water. So we'll fertilize them, water them. We'll probably mulch around the bases to keep them looking nice and healthy so that they grow and give us lots of fruit. And over there, in that corner, we got another apple tree. I believe it's a Honeycrisp. So that's one that I will eat. So hopefully that does really well. It's not going to flower or fruit this year, maybe in 2 years or so. It does take them a little bit to get going, but you want to make sure that they're healthy and they're big enough to support that fruit. But speaking of apple trees, I'm going to come back over to this Red Delicious tree. And they're not going to look like they're doing much anymore at this point, which is fine. But if you look closely, like right in there, I believe, we have some apples. If I go on to the other side, I can show you a few more. This tree is honestly loaded with apples. Here's another cluster. I mean, there's an apple in here. There's apples everywhere. I think my dad's tree, which is this one, has the most, and Jay's has the least. His has 1, so every tree at least has 1 apple on it, but they're not going to get but so much taller now because they're focused on fruiting, which is fine. But I'm super excited to see how many apples we get this year because we didn't get any last year that we could harvest. So I'll come out, now that it is not flowering, I'm probably going to spray this tree as well because I know the leaves are starting to curl a little bit, which isn't great. I'm not sure what that's a sign of, hopefully nothing too bad. But you can kind of see it right in here. So we'll make sure that we spray these regularly, give them fertilizer. We want these to do as well as possible, but they are still growing because you can see right here there's lots of new growth and it's still going. So it's still growing, which is good. So hopefully, especially this year, especially next year, we should have some apples. Next we have the wine sap tree, I believe. Yes, so this is my mom's tree, and there's some apples right in here. So hers is doing pretty well. Then next over here we've got my tree, and I've got at least 1 apple on it, so I gotta find it so I can show you. But it's doing pretty well, growing very tall. And this is the one where I have to look, but we've got some growth tips right there. And I have to figure out where the apples are. They're in here somewhere. So if you look right up in there, you'll see a few apples. So I'm really excited for this one. Oh, I got a few over here too. Right in there. So some of these aren't good and will have to come off, but some of them I will leave on to grow bigger to also get the tree used to growing apples. As long as they're not rotted and attracting bugs, they're gonna stay on here. Next we've got the other wine sap tree. So this is my mom's other tree. This one I'll have to look a little bit more carefully for the apples. I'm pretty sure I've seen some, I just don't remember where. And then we've got Jay's tree, which is the pink lady right here. And then I'm gonna go find the apple because I know there's one on here. I can't zoom in any further, but if you look up in there, there's one apple on Jay's tree. But his is going crazy. The tips are growing even taller up higher. So we're gonna have to get a ladder to prune this one next year. But that is all for this garden tour. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back next month with another one. So if you want to follow us on Instagram, we have more picture updates over there so you can see all the things that we're up to. And that is AJ Farms on Instagram. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.